Now then everybody, it's Dan from homephysique.com, and in this video I'm going to be talking about what I found to be the pros and cons of intermittent fasting whilst cutting. So as you may or may not know, I did intermittent fasting for a few months where I'd been cutting initially using just a normal standard diet from eating in the morning, breakfast and that. Stumbled upon intermittent fasting and then started using it. I've used quite a lot of different windows. I've used the 8-hour window, and then I've just added like hours on, so 7 hours, 6 hours. I managed to finally get a 24-hour window in there, which was surprisingly quite easy once you got doing it. The hardest thing is finding the day to do it to fit in with your daily life. So we'll just get straight into the pros of what I've found when performing intermittent fasting during cutting. So I found that I had an increased satiety whilst doing intermittent fasting, obviously because you're having all of your calories within an 8-hour window or less. You're getting a lot of food in a short period of time. Now for me, that was leaving me feeling a lot fuller, a lot more satisfied and a lot more content with my daily calorie limits. If you were to compare it to, say, conventional eating, i.e. breakfast, lunch, dinner, tea, whatever you want to call it, you're having a lot smaller meals throughout the day, so there's those times in between where you can be feeling very hungry, because if you're on a low calorie diet, say 2,000 calories, which for me is not many calories at all, if you're on that, you can find that in between those meals that you feel you're very hungry in between. Whereas with this, because you're eating all those calories in such a short period of time, you literally just feel stuffed. So one of the more important things that I found is that I had more muscle retention. Compared to my last cut that I did on the Ketogenic Diet, I lost a hell of a lot of muscle. I lost a lot of fat as well, but I lost a lot of size, and it wasn't good. This time round, I can honestly say that I have retained a hell of a lot more muscle, so much more than last year. So for me, I'm really sold with it for that. And leading on from that, with more muscle retention, I found that I managed to keep a hell of a lot more strength than I did last year. I'd honestly turn around and say that on this cut that I did, I probably retained around 90% of my strength. Last year, for example, I was benching 100 kilos for about 12 to 13 reps. Come the end of my cut, I could literally not even bench 100 kilos once. That is how much I lost strength-wise. This time around, to be fair, I've just kept it the same. There's no problems, and the good thing about that is that now that I am maintaining again or bulking, I can just carry on where I left off and just start making pure gains. Whilst I was fasted, I was finding that the energy levels were very smooth and constant. There was never like feelings of feeling tired or drained. I just felt constant energy always in the fasted period, so that wasn't a problem. That's a really good thing. And I found that when eating normally, I had a lot of like mini spikes throughout the day. Like you'd have your breakfast and then feel a little bit tired straight away, you want to go back to bed. With this, it's like you get up, get on with it, jobs are good done. Another thing as well, whilst I was fasted, I found that I had a hell of a lot more definition. If you remember my last video that I made, I showed you the comparison between being fasted and in my eating window. The definition in my chest and stomach was definitely noticeable. I had a lot more going on. As soon as I started eating, it just disappeared. You found that just belly came out of nowhere. So again, pro to intermittent fasting is when you are in your fasted state, you're looking pretty damn good. You're looking in shape, and for the first time in my life, I could honestly say I looked a little bit ripped, but not much. So then onto the negative sides of intermittent fasting whilst cutting. Initially, the first, say 6 hours after waking, so if I was to wake at 6 AM and then fast till 12, first time round that was hell for me. Not having breakfast was absolute killer. I mean, it's a total culture shock. I'm used to having breakfast for the past 27 years of my life, so for me, not being able to have it, it was hell. I was so hungry and it just was driving me up the walls at points. I was having to take appetite suppressants to get over it, drinking lots of coffee just to get by. So that is probably the worst part of it, is just the sheer hunger at first. It does get better in time, I found. Now, I mean, for me now, I don't even worry about it. It's not even a problem now. So it's one of those things that gets better in time. As I mentioned before, During the eating window, I found that I got very bloated after eating. I mean, I lost a lot of definition. It was actually incredible because you could actually see it happening. You could start eating, and then a couple of hours later you would lose definition, or I would. So for me, that is definitely a negative thing, because if, say, you knew you wanted to go somewhere, like I was on holiday and I had a little bit of definition in the morning, and as soon as I had something to eat, and if you wanted to go back around the pool or do some sunbathing, I was like, oh God, because I knew I'd have a massive big belly to contend with you. So that's not a good thing. Another thing as well, after the large feeds that you have whilst doing intermittent fasting, I was definitely finding that I was becoming very lethargic after eating. So you would have a big, meal, say 1,000 calorie meal, 1,500 calorie meal, and all of a sudden, like an hour later, I just want to go to bed. I felt absolutely tired and shattered. Now, I know on intermittent fasting you're meant to train fasted and then eat your meals, but for me, I was finding that if I was eating a meal and then I had to train, say, later in the day, it was putting me off training because I just felt that tired. So again, not a good thing. Finally as well, I found that another one of probably the worst parts of intermittent fasting is that eating sociably can be quite difficult, because if you're trying to, say, fit the eating around your eating pattern, around your windows, and say you're meant to be going out for a meal with somebody, or going out for some drinks, it can be very difficult, and you might not be able to make it fit into that. But what I have to say to you is that you need to make IF, or you need to make intermittent fasting work for you. Make it work around you. Don't put you around intermittent fasting. It's got to fit around your life. You've got to make it work. Just be aware that you don't have to do it every day. You could do it maybe a few times a week and then go out. Just make it work for you. It's got to be beneficial for you, and just not cripple your life. So that's all I can say on that. But that's it really. That's all, like, my write-up for intermittent fasting and cutting. Personally, I loved it. I enjoyed it, and I can honestly say that when I come around to cut again next year, I'll be doing it straight off the bat. I'm currently bulking again now and practicing intermittent fasting, but at the minute I've not been bulking long enough for me to really give you a good insight into what I think. I'll be doing, like, say, an initial thoughts on bulking and intermittent fasting maybe in a couple of weeks. So thanks for watching. Please like, share it with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video. Thanks now.